Okay, so we will get started in one more minute. And I see those who've joined in. Again, please make sure you put your information in the chat about your business because we'd love to know who is on the webinar today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump right in, and those who could join in can get in where they fit in. So my name is Michelle Glover. I'm a project director for the Edge, really helping support the programming for the organization. So many of you may be new to the Edge and not familiar with what it is that we do. So 30,000 feet, we are all about developing and supporting Georgia's entrepreneurs. So the Edge is really an over 20-year organization that started in partnership with United Way Cobb Family Resources, Cobb County YWCA, and Kennesaw State University, the Coles College of Business. And really the goal with the Edge when it started in its original formation was simple. It was, how can we provide economic support to those who may be disadvantaged situations? So what resources can we provide them to help them be more economically mobile? And one of those resources was entrepreneurship. How can we support individuals with creating that generational wealth through entrepreneurship? So since that time, the Edge has grown and blossomed over the years, supporting not just Cobb County, but really multiple counties within Georgia. But our premise is the same. We want to help individuals become economically mobile, and we want to provide the tools and resources, if they choose entrepreneurship, to help them be successful. And so we have multiple training classes throughout the year that most of the time are offered free or at a nominal cost. And then we're also working, we're doing one-on-one consultations. So if you have a business challenge and you want to meet with an industry expert, we have those resources to support you as well. So lots that's happening for training and business advising. And so please stay connected with us so that we can support you in your business. So as I mentioned before, it's that we want to develop and empower people and enterprise ultimately for greater success. And so many of you who've been with the Edge know and love Rachel Davis. She is the executive director for the Edge organization. And she really has this passion for economic mobility for individuals, whether that be through entrepreneurship or other career resources. Ultimately, we want to see people thrive. And so she has a passion for that and developing individuals. In addition, she really prides herself in thinking of a whole business self approach. So it's this mindset, because we know some of the challenges that we have in businesses are here. So how can we help develop and train the mindset? Also with the skill set, which is helping you with the tools and resources to be a successful business owner, which are webinars like this. And then finally, the level set. So you should always be looking to not just, hey, I have a business, but you're always moving up, leveling up with your business. And so she's very passionate about that. So those who know Rachel, she's been with the organization for a long time, and she's really seen it grown over the past decades, really. So we're so excited to have her as the CEO and executive director. Now, I am so excited to talk about what we have coming up today, which is the business planning webinar for you all. One of the challenges that we see with entrepreneurs is that they have a business, but they're missing the foundation. They're missing that plan to help them grow and scale their business. So it's like, oh, I have an idea here and it's on napkins and it's on this. But when you're trying to go for funding, it's hard for you to get that funding without a business plan. And when I say it's hard, meaning you're not going to get the funding without that structure and without that plan. So I am so excited that the Edge, stop sharing for a little bit, that the Edge has Austin Thompson here to talk about something that he is very passionate about, is business planning. So let me tell you a little bit about Austin. And this is a little bit because he has done so much and accomplished so much, but I'm going to give you some of the high points. So he is the founder and owner of Thompson Management Consulting, which he serves as the management consultant, currently working with small business owners and entrepreneurs on various business strategy, planning, development initiatives. So in addition to that, owning and running his business, he plans and organizes and executes the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Summit. And this is attended by hundreds of business owners, entrepreneurs, strategists, consultants, researchers, policymakers, thought leaders, all of those individuals in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. He is originally from the Republic of Guyana, South America, and is currently an adjunct professor of business and project management in the College of Adult and Professional Programs at Shorter University. In addition, he has over 17 years of experience in regulatory compliance engineering. He's published a book, A Brand New You, Taking Ownership of Your Personal Brand. In addition to that, he has previously hosted a radio show for entrepreneurs. He works with nonprofit organizations, is very active in the Gwinnett County Chamber of Commerce, but he really has a passion for small business owners and entrepreneurs to help them think, not just that I have a business, but how do I strategically approach my business through planning. So I am so excited to have Austin here sharing his expertise with you all. So just a couple of housekeeping rules as we get started. So number one, we are going to reserve all the questions toward the end. So Austin has built-in questions for you all, built-in time for questions at the end. So please write your questions down, or you can put them in the Q&A function here on Zoom. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go through all of those questions to make sure we get them addressed. So you can use the Q&A function in Zoom, which is at the bottom of the Zoom platform for you. You can also raise your hand if you want to ask a question at the end. And when you raise your hand, I'll unmute you and you can share your question, or you can use the chat. So many ways to stay connected and ask your questions, but we just ask that you reserve them to the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I will make sure that we have Austin unmuted and he can unmute his line, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. I thought you were going to give me the short version of the bio.
That was the short version.
That was the short version.
Very accomplished.
I need to work on making it shorter, more concise. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for being here this evening, and I want to thank Michelle and the Edge Connection. I just want to tell you, when Michelle contacted me from the Edge about doing this business planning webinar, I was excited because I've literally wanted to do something with the Edge for a few years now. So I'm glad that I have this opportunity to be on the to facilitate this webinar this evening. As Michelle stated, I've done just a little bit in my life, you know. So you know, business planning and working with entrepreneurs, especially those in the early stages of the business planning life cycle, going from 0 to 5 years. Those are the entrepreneurs I like to focus on, because it is so difficult going from launch to year 5. Forget year 5. It's like going from launch to year 1. All right. So, or going from launch to the 6th month, because I've literally seen businesses close their doors like 6, 7 months after they open. Right. And there's a plethora of reasons, opportunities out there for business owners to really take advantage of. But the one thing that is important is that we are planning in the beginning, in the very beginning, and not waiting until, you know, we reach a point where, you know, we're experiencing all of these challenges, and then we don't know how to go from one step to the next because we haven't planned, right? So I'm going to go through the presentation this evening. If it sounds a little bit scholarly, it's just it must be my instructor background. So I'm going to try to be as exciting as possible. I hope you guys grab a cup of coffee or some water and you have something with you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and so that we can get started. And do we have it up yet?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, let me, wait a minute. Let me Let me do this really quick. I'm sorry. All right. Okay, so now let me go ahead and all right. We got the full screen now?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great, great. So today we'll focus on business planning. And for those of you who are attending this evening, I don't know where you are along the cycle on your path to success and growing your business, but this will definitely help many of you who are in your pre-startup stage or who are early in your startup stage within 0 to 5 years. And if you have not written a business plan, or as Michelle mentioned earlier, maybe you have it scribbled down on a few tissue paper, a few scrap papers, but this will definitely give you an idea of the path that you need to take in order to grow successfully, and really capturing the essence of planning. And then we'll talk a little bit about a white paper that I've developed to actually accompany this presentation. All right. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the business planning life cycle, talk a little bit about the life cycle stages with activities, starting a business. Where do I begin? That's always a hard question. All right. A 6-step Thompson Management Consulting business planning model that I've developed for entrepreneurs. The foundation, where you actually begin, your legal structure, going through your operations, determining your startup needs through an analysis, a carefully structured analysis, marketing and various marketing components. Take a look at a smartphone usage chart, which is great for those of us who are still trying to build our digital branding and understanding how important a device like this is to many of us. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The components of the financial analysis, some important numbers for your business, business planning, the white paper, the business plan versus no business plan graph, which will definitely illustrate the importance of having a business plan, and then we'll close. All right. Okay. So let me see. All right. So what we have here is the business planning life cycle, 7 stages to the life cycle. All right. You have your seed stage, your startup stage, growth, establish, expansion, decline, and you exit, right? Any business is like anything. It has a life cycle. It has a beginning and it has an end. Just as you launch a business, open a business, you will eventually prepare for its exiting, right? And how you determine your exiting, whether you sell the business or whether you transition it to a loved one, a family member, however you determine how you exit the business, there's a life cycle to observe. So some of you on this call this evening may be in your seed stage. You may be in the pre-startup stage. Some of you may be in the startup stage, which is about the first year or so. In the growth stage, anywhere between 0 to 5 years. Some of you may be established, about around 10 years and under. Or within your expansion stage, right? Hopefully no one's here declining and preparing to exit, right? We're all growing successfully. We're all preparing to grow successful businesses, and we're taking on COVID-19, right? As best as we can. In our pre-startup stage, the pre-startup planning, it's just that. It's a pre-startup stage where you are planning your business. This is the stage which you're doing and developing your business plan. You are capturing all of the needs that you need to be mindful of in order to have a successful start for your business. You're determining the financing needs. You're determining what your access to capital will be in order for you to operate successfully. You're determining whether you, for those of you who are not actually going into a physical structure, a physical building like a bricks and mortar, you might start out working at home, conducting a business at home, which is pretty popular for those of us who are in consulting, right? Accounting and finance, website development, software development. These are some of the work that we can do from a home office, right? A small office, home office, or a SOHO. So we might not start out in a physical office, right? We might start off working from home. And then, in your startup phase, this is when the business has launched, right? So I developed this chart because I really wanted to highlight the stages at which businesses, according to statistics, fail, all right? 20% failure within the first year, right? Within the first year, right? About 50% failure by year 5, all right? 60 to 70% failure by year 10, all right? So at about 30 to 40% of businesses that start survive beyond the 10 years, right? There are different reasons. You might say, well, why do businesses fail? There are different reasons. It's not always a lack of access to capital. It could be just not having the proper plan in place. You can have all the money in the world. You can have all the access to capital in the world. But if you have not planned how to spend that money, if you have not planned on how to invest properly in developing and growing that business, all the money in the world doesn't matter if you haven't created a plan to determine how you're going to start up, how you're going to market, how you're going to scale your business, the operations you need, the human resources, right? Whether you're going to contract, subcontract, hire temporary personnel, full-time personnel, the skill sets and expertise, the technology that's needed. So there's a full gamut, there's a full scale planning that's needed to determine how to grow successfully, right? So failure doesn't necessarily mean any one particular thing, but the need for planning is essential, and it is crucial to the success of any business, right? Regardless of its business model. Okay. I'm going to try not to stay too long on any one slide, because you definitely want to save enough for questions at the end. In each of those 7 stages that I show you, there are certain activities that occur, right? Within each stage, right? So let's pick the seed stage, right? And you may be wondering, well, why is this shaded in red, right? But this is the critical period, that's 0 to 5 years, right? These two, the seed stage and the startup stage, it comprises 5 years of that early life cycle of your business's growth. Okay, so in the red area, the shaded red area, you have the seed and startup. So in your seed, you're conceptualizing the business idea. You have a vision. You're trying to conceptualize, how am I going to start this business? How am I going to grow? What is my business model, right? Identify experiences and skill sets you bring to the business. If you're opening a restaurant, you're opening a bakery, you're starting a small manufacturing firm, then you may, let's say for instance, you're starting a small manufacturing firm where you're manufacturing wheelchairs for those who are physically disabled. You may have a background in medicine. You may have a background in that particular area, right? If you're opening a bakery, you're opening a restaurant, you have some experience with food preparation, right? Pastry preparation. So you're bringing that expertise now into a structured business. You're no longer operating as a hustle out of your home. You're looking to actually convert that into a structured, profitable business, right? Seek advisement from advisors, determine the startup funding, develop your business plan, which is critical in this phase here. In startup, you're now in the critical phase, the 0 to 5 years range. You're trying to determine how to manage your cash effectively. while you're developing your business plan, you're also developing the financial analysis that's needed in order to determine your 3 to 5 year projections, profit, right? Revenues and expenses, net profit, right? Your receivables, your cash, trying to determine how you're spending, how you're using your capital that you've been able to secure in order to launch your business, whether you went through a bank or whether you are using 100% equity, which is being invested into your business, right? So you have certain things that you have to be mindful in the startup phase, right? In the growth phase, you have several things there as well. In the established, if you're an established business, there are quite a few things. Excuse me. There are quite a few things that you have to be mindful there in that stage as well. Okay. You're going to have access to the white paper I created. It literally, all of this goes into more detail. So this is just a high level that I'm doing for this presentation. Okay. But you please feel free to ask questions at the end. In your expansion phase, you're also mindful of some of the things in the expansion phase. At this stage, you may be considering a location expansion. You may have a restaurant or a cleaning business in Marietta, and now you're looking to open up an office in Norcross, Georgia, right? Or you may be looking, you have an office in Norcross and an office in Marietta. You're looking to expand now. Business is good. Business is good. Profits are good. Your customers are increasing. You're doing great business, getting great referrals. Now you're at the point where you're expanding geographically, right? Or you may be expanding in terms of revenue streams. You may be adding another revenue stream or an additional stream to the business, right? So expansion is always great, but expansion must be cautious. When you're scaling a business, you scale cautiously so that you basically don't expand too fast, and then you're unable to meet the demand of the market because you can't supply what the market demands, right? So expansion is great. In decline, you're looking at customer volume, you're looking at marketing, you're trying to readdress or reapproach some of the things that you have done earlier in the business life cycle to see how you can basically come out of that decline and start to increase again in terms of revenue, clients. When you're in the declining phase, maybe the market sees more desirable products and services with one of your competitors. You're no longer marketing as you did. You're no longer paying attention to the market activity and what's going on in the economy. So there are several reasons as to why you may go into decline, right? So you're looking at that as well. And exiting, at this point, you're looking to sell the business, transition from being a business owner, and you may have a succession plan where you're actually transitioning to a son or a daughter or to a sibling or someone who is interested in taking the business and continue growing, operating the business and see growth to it again. So those are the activities that occur in each of the 7 phases of the small business life cycle. And again, the white paper that I've created to go along with this presentation go into it in more detail, right? And I'll definitely share that link with you. So here you are. You're at the beginning. You're thinking, what business am I starting, right? Okay, I enjoy working with numbers. I have an accounting background. I think I want to be a CPA. I would like to work with small business owners and do their books, right? I'd like to help them set up QuickBooks and help them with their accounting, right? If you love working with numbers, you have an accounting background, that's probably where you might be going, right? I love technology. I like creating and helping small businesses advertise. So if you have a software background, hey, you might be thinking, I'll help create websites, right? Because you have that background. You may have a background in photography and art. So now you're designing logos, and you're designing artwork, you're designing the marketing material for small businesses. You're helping to promote the presence they need in that marketplace, right? So there's different things. You like working on cars, you might, establish a mechanic shop. So you're trying to ascertain how you're going to move forward, how you're going to take what you love and what you have a desire for, and to convert that into a business, right? What will be my business model, right? How am I going to market, right? How am I going to set up my operations? Another key question: who are my customers? Who will be my target market? And in a general market, right? Who will comprise the sub market, right? Am I as a dressmaker? Am I targeting adult women, or am I targeting teens? If I'm a fitness consultant, right? You have a physical therapy, a degree in physical therapy and physical science. You may wish to go into the field of physical therapy. So you want to work with those who like being athletic. You might want to work with patients who are recovering from surgery. So you're trying to determine who might are, right? Based on the business that you see yourself launching and operating. How much money do I need at startup, right? How much money do I need at startup? What do I need? I have this grand idea for this restaurant, right? How much money will I need in order to launch that restaurant? The location, I might need to do some construction, right? To go in and do some revitalization of the actual physical structure on the outside or on the inside, right? Get all the equipment, hire people, hire an executive chef, right? All these things go into determining how much money you need at startup, right? What resources do I need at startup? Who are my competitors? So important, because when you enter a market, it's important to understand who else is doing the same thing as you, who actually is providing the same service, the same products, and doing the same thing. So it's always essential that you do the work. And the great way to find out who your competitors are is to, when you join a chamber, or you join a business alliance or a business association, usually the members or the entrepreneurs who gather at many of these networking events are usually operating in your area that you're doing business. So you might be networking and having conversations with people who are doing the same thing as you, right? So it's a great way to get an idea of who's doing the same thing as you in your industry, in your particular area. All right, so the purpose of the business plan is to gather all your thoughts, all your ideas, right? And to comprise this document, right? This document that you're going to use in order to be the roadmap for growing your business, right? Whether you are using the business plan to secure funding and financing, capital for your business, or you are just using it as a roadmap. I need to document how I'm going to grow as a business, right? So now in this slide, I take you through six steps, right, of going from vision to launch, right, with your business plan. Okay. So in step one, you're the entrepreneur. You have a vision to start a business, right? We all do, right? For those of us who are entrepreneurial, for those of us who have already established your business, it all started with an idea, right? It all started with an idea. You spoke to someone and they said, yeah, you should do that. I think you'll be great at that. And you started your business, right? You were doing something that you loved. It was a passion of yours and you wanted to convert it into a business. So that's the vision you had from whatever experience that drove that vision to start your business, right? Step two is where you actually do all the work for developing that business plan, right? So before you start the business, the plan is drafted, right? So then you go from step two to step three, right? You develop your business plan, but before you finish the plan, you have an idea that, okay, I need access to capital, right? I need X number of dollars in order to launch, right? And to carry me through that first year. So I'm going to develop my business plan either for a bank. I'm going to go straight to a commercial bank, right? Or go to my own bank, right? Some of you may be with Bank of America or with Wells Fargo. You may be with a credit union or something like that. Navy Federal if you're ex-military, right? Or you may go through the SBA, right? And they have a 7A lender program. And the 7A lender program is basically for entrepreneurs who really don't have great business credit. So they help to work along with you through that 7A program, right? There's also an 8A program for those who are looking to do business with the government, right? So the SBAs are a great resource. They work with preferred lenders, right? Banks who are associated with the the SBA, and are preferred lenders through the SBA. And these are the banks that the SBA work with in order to help you get access to capital. Angel investors, right? I love this, right? You may have some rich friends. You went to college with some friends, and you have some of your past classmates who have gone on and done well for themselves. They may be sitting on, some money that they might be willing to invest in your business, right? So angel investors are great. You have a sibling or an aunt, a family member sitting on some money, and they're looking to invest, and they may say, hey, let me see your plan. Let me see what's your idea for growing your business. And so you go to one of those individuals. Venture capitalists, same thing. Basically anyone who's looking to invest in a business, usually like you watch Shark Tank, and those are the guys who are venture capitalists. They're looking for businesses to invest in, right? An alternative lending source, which are not necessarily banks, not commercial banks, but are financial institutions that are set up to help businesses grow, help businesses get the access to capital. The thing with alternative lending sources, they have the same criteria as commercial banks, right? But the interest rates may be a little higher, right? They may be a little bit more relaxed, but it's higher interest, right, that you're paying. This in green here is basically you investing your own money, which is your equity. You're investing 100% equity into funding your business, right? Going into step 4. Now with banks and financial institutions, they basically require you to have about 20% of what you're asking for to invest in the business, right? So definitely keep that in mind. So in step 4, you receive the funding for your startup capital needed to drive business and operations. Great, you're successful, you got the money you need, right? Now for step 5, you purchase all your resources for the business, whatever resources you need, depending upon your business model, and you're able now to launch successfully and open your business and now start to grow revenue and build and grow your business successfully, right? So this is a 6-step model that I've developed for entrepreneurs, pre-startups, and entrepreneurs who are early in the startup phase, and then for them to follow and to get an understanding of the work that's needed. And I say it like that because it is work, it is effort that you have to put behind in growing successfully as an entrepreneur. Okay. Now the foundation, right? Any business is built off of a foundation, right? Your vision, where you see the business. What do you see for your business, right? You open up a restaurant. Okay, I'm doing barbecue, or I'm doing a Caribbean menu. I'm doing a traditional American steak, hamburgers, whatever. You may have a vision to be the next Varsity. You may have the vision to be the next O'Charlie's, right? You have that vision to be the next Applebee's, right? To take your business, right? Remember, Slutty Vegan, it actually started from a food truck, and look at how they have grown their business, right? So you gotta have that vision of where you see yourself 10, 20 years into the future, right? But you start off and you scale to get there, right? Then you create your mission. Why am I exist? Why do I exist? What is the purpose for me? The purpose of me establishing this business, right? Now, for some of us who are social entrepreneurs, meaning we are in the business of developing products to help people. A social entrepreneur may be folks who develop different types of crutches and You have those prosthetic legs or prosthetic arms, wheelchairs, hospital beds. You know, they're a social entrepreneur with the vision to develop products to help people, right? To help folks in the environment, right? So we have to look at some of those things that are driving our business passion, right? SMART goals, right? The next thing, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. All goals must be SMART, right? Because you got to be specific about your goals. I always tell small business owners, entrepreneurs who are starting out, just identify about 3 to 5 goals. 3 to 5 goals that you can measure. You want to quantify as you're growing your business, as you're growing your plan out, and you're launching, you want to be able to measure as you launch, right? The actual business activity against what you have projected and prepared for, because it's very important. Because and this is why the plan is important. Now you can always revert back to the plan and say, this is what I created. All right, this is what I established. This is what I wrote. This is how I wanted to grow my business. These are the steps that I've identified. I sat down with that consultant and my CPA, and I've determined these are the numbers I wish to see the first 3 quarters of year 1. So you want to go back and you want to measure, right, against what you have planned as you determine to grow. Attainable. Can I attain it? Can I attain what I have set out to do, right? Is it realistic? Right? Are these goals realistic? Can I definitely do that? Right? It might not be realistic in the first year because you're scaling and you need to generate as much revenue as possible. Keep your expenses low. Generate as much revenue as possible. Make sure your accounts receivables are at net 30, net 45, because you want your customers to pay you within reasonable time so that you can remain liquid as a business, right? And is it timed and must be time sensitive, must put time to it, right? By quarter 2, I wish to have these achievements. By quarter 3, by quarter 4, by the end of the year, right? So you have to make sure that the foundation is set. Your legal structure, all right? The first thing you do with even before you launch a business, of course, from your vision, you determine, okay, what am I going to call my business, right? The name of a business is important because you want a name that resonates with the market, okay? A name that's recognizable, a name that, rolls off easy off the tongue and people would recognize it, right? The proper licenses and permits are very important. If you are preparing food, if you are open air, if you are running a nursing home, these are businesses that requires certain permits and licenses, all right, in order to business, in order to run your business, because you have to be in compliance with the state and in compliance with the city or the county in which you're in. Okay, you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I just got a signal that a message that my signal is a little unstable, but I just want to make sure I'm still coming through. Okay.
Yeah,
all
you
right.
just had a little blip, but it was fine.
Okay, just a little blip. Okay, good. All right, your sole proprietorship. Now with a sole proprietorship, you can operate a business as a sole proprietor. You don't necessarily have to. You just go down to your city, the city hall, and approach the city clerk and establish a business as a sole proprietor, right? With a sole proprietorship, basically you have no coverage, no liability for the business, right? So if anyone wants to sue you for the business, it's impacting your personal assets, okay? They're literally impacting your personal assets. So your personal assets are affected, right? The limited liability company is a pass-through formation, meaning with this organizational structure, when you file taxes, you're not filing business taxes, but the taxes are actually passed through to the owners of the business, right? So the limited liability does what the sole proprietorship doesn't. It offers you limited liability. I always recommend, hey, as you have car insurance, life insurance, you have insurance on your home, have insurance on your business, all right? So definitely reinforce the limited liability with additional insurance. So this way, if somebody wishes to open up a lawsuit against you for, whatever services that were not desirable by the client, your businesses, the assets of your business are affected, right? And not your personal assets. Your corporation, your C Corp, your S Corp, are established as if you're looking to incorporate, right? Incorporating, adding greater security for you as the business owner, right? With the C Corp model, you are double taxed, right? The business is taxed, as well as all employees of the business are taxed, right? With an S Corp or a subchapter S, it's also a pass-through entity. It's a pass-through model. So like the LLC, the owners are responsible or liable for the taxes of the business and the personal taxes of those who are owning the business, right? So you can incorporate as a business, right? And you can have the limited liability, the LLC, or you can incorporate and have under a subchapter S, okay? With the LLC, you can go through the Secretary of State's website. It's a pretty, pretty straightforward process. And you as the business owner can actually apply for your LLC through the Secretary of State's website. With a corporation, it's best to really have an attorney sit down with you, or a CPA. And I always recommend a CPA and a licensed attorney, because when you're looking at establishing a corporation, you want to know the advantages and disadvantages of incorporating. And should I incorporate as a C Corp? Should I incorporate as an S Corp? Or I'm thinking maybe I should just do an LLC, right? So it's great for you to understand the differences between each, so that you can determine how each structure benefits you and your employees as the business owner. You also have partnerships, set up an LLP, limited liability partnership, or nonprofits, right? You can incorporate as a nonprofit, right? And then apply for your 501c3, C4, C5, depending upon what type of nonprofit business you have, all right? This is a high level, and again, I always recommend definitely having that discussion with a licensed attorney or with a CPA, all right? Determine funding needs, startup capital, and resources, right? This is part of your operations. When you get into the operations plan, you want to be able to determine and capture all your overhead costs, right? What are all my overhead costs, right? Especially if you are operating out of a bricks and mortar, right? And not necessarily in your home. If you're operating out of your home, the IRS will say that you have a certain area within your home that you can designate as your working area, right? And there's a certain percentage of tax that you're liable for as an occupant working out of your own home. So your overhead costs are not that exorbitant, right? As it would be if you have a bricks and mortar and you have an actual physical building that you're working out of, right? Understanding your fixed costs, right? Which is usually your rent and insurance, right? Your variable costs, which is usually your supplies, materials, because it varies in cost per month, all right? Salaries can be considered fixed because it's one salary you're paying, unless you have certain employees that you're paying commissions to. And of course, commissions vary based on the level or the volume of business that person handles and bring into the company, right? Your equipment, what will you buy, right? What will you lease? All right. This is very important to understand, because in the beginning, as you start out your business, you may not want to invest a whole lot of cash, right, into a startup. You may want to lease some of the equipment, right? Lease the printers or certain equipment that you need in order to operate successfully, right? As the business grows, maybe past year 3, 4, 5, and you're seeing your customers growing, you're seeing revenue growing, you're seeing a substantial amount of cash coming back to the business in order to keep you liquid, then you may, when you get like into the growth and established phase, then you may want to invest in newer equipment, right? So definitely consider that for your business. And it depends on you, the business owner, right? Do I buy or do I lease, right? It's like if you need vehicles for your business, you run a delivery service, right? Do I buy a new vehicle or do I lease a vehicle, right? And there's so many car companies now that work with you, as commercial customers, right? They'll work with you. Rent office space or work from home, right? Now you have so many different office spaces, shared office spaces that you have access to. You have Rome, you have Regis, you have so many of them, right? You have WeWork. I love WeWork, right? I love Rome. I use one in downtown Lawrenceville that's called Cornerstone. For anyone on this call who's from the Lawrenceville area or who have actually visited Cornerstone, great place. I'm not promoting for them, but I'm just saying I like working there. Sorts of bricks and mortar location, right? You've heard the term location, location, location. It's great. It's easy for people to pass you on the street and see a nice sign and know that you're there, right? Know that you exist, right? In that space, right? So make sure if you have a bricks and mortar, if you're working out of a space, make sure it's noticeable. Make sure customers can easily get to you, right? I like restaurants. I like to recommend, make sure you're in a shopping plaza with a major anchor, right? Like a Walmart, a Home Depot, Home Depots are usually by themselves, but you have shopping plazas that have major anchors, right? And they have an extension on the strip mall. But make sure that you're in one of these plazas that actually where they're bringing a lot of vehicular traffic, right? Vehicular traffic is great because it brings in people not only to the major real estate establishment, but also they see other businesses that are part of that establishment as well, right? Publix, Kroger, those are major anchors because they bring a lot of volume in to do shopping, right? So definitely think about the location. Also, human resources, determine the number of staff needed at startup. In the beginning, it might be you and one other person. It might be you and your spouse or you and a sibling. As the business grows, this actually determines your expenses as well, because payroll expenses, insurance, anything that's associated with adding employees is an added expense, right? So determine how you're going to scale also with those who are going to be working for you, whether you're going to subcontract, you're going to hire temporary personnel or full-time, right? Place on the payroll for any one of those individuals, full-time, part-time, seasonal. Determine the type of point of sale system for your inventory management. For those of you who have inventory and you're looking to determine your supply chain, where you're sourcing your supplies from, your just-in-time delivery, your point of sale system should indicate it's time to replenish your stock. So this way, when customers come in and they're asking for a particular item, you have those items in stock, right? Restaurants, good, because you need ingredients. You need to continue a continuous process of ordering and getting supplies in on time, right? So definitely make sure your point of sale systems are great. Vehicles, building, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, FF&E, these are great. These are all listed on the expense portion of your P&L, your profits and loss, or your income statement. These are all depreciable items, so you definitely would have to account for the depreciation of all your assets that you own, not what you lease, but what you own. Okay, looking at the actual face value at purchase versus the salvage value, right? And what's the value of that asset after or over a period of time? So all of these have to be determined, right? As you grow your business. All right. Let me see. See what we got there in time. All right. Marketing. Marketing is great. Marketing is so essential. Marketing is like capital. If you don't have capital, you can't run a business, right? If you don't market your business and you don't market it well, if you don't promote well, if you don't advertise well, if you don't let the market know you exist, how are they going to do business? How are they going to know you exist? How are they going to know that you're set up, right, to service them, right? So marketing is essential, right? So first we look at the target market. Who are you targeting, right? Who will be your customers, right? Based on the business model, based on the services or the products that you're selling from your business, right? Who will be your target market, right? A description of the products or service mix, right? How your service, your business model, how does that differentiate with your competitor? What makes you different? What makes you stand out? Why should somebody spend money with you and not with your competitor, right? What makes you unique, right? What makes your product superior in the marketplace, right? So all of these things have to be captured, right? What is your competitive advantage? What is it about your product, right? What you make? What is it about Deer Park water that makes it competitive over Avion, right? Or any other product of water out there? Why would you reach for this Deer Park water when you go to the store? Again, I'm not selling Deer Park water, but I'm trying to, make a point. But, you have to actually determine, if you're a restaurant, why should I come and eat at your restaurant? What is different about your restaurant that would draw me to you and make you a desirable selection over your competitor, right? So it depends. When you're manufacturing products, you're a clothing designer, you're running any type of business model, differentiation and competitive advantage must be identified, right? How are you positioned in your industry? Are you positioned as a business that can really help individuals, that can really you're putting forward and you're producing a desirable item? Are you positioned as someone with quality in your service, in your products, and what you sell and produce as a business, right? So definitely determine how you're positioned against your competitors. What are the barriers to entry, right? Is your technology superior, right? Are you entering into a market that's saturated with the services or the products that you wish to sell, right? That's a barrier to entry, because you're not going to really achieve business success if the market is saturated already with what you're trying to sell. So you're entering into a market that's saturated with products and services that are already there, right? So determine what the barriers to entry are. How do you plan to advertise and promote, right? Using social media, right? Your economic and industry analysis is important, because you have to determine how strong the economy is during the time as you're developing your business plan, and the industry that you're in, right? How well is the industry growing? Are other businesses in that industry growing, right? Because if the similar businesses, if you're developing a business within an industry, right, to compete with businesses that are already there, that already exist, and if net profits, if revenues, if the businesses are not really growing in that particular industry, do you really want to enter that market? Do you really want to enter that industry, right? Do you really want to establish your business at that time? So we definitely have to do the economic analysis and industry analysis, right? Your value proposition, right? What value are you bringing to the marketplace and to your customers, right? Your branding strategy, right? Your logos, your website, your podcast, if you're doing podcasts, if you're promoting your business on LinkedIn or Facebook, right? Instagram, right? Your sales strategy, how do you plan to sell? Your SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? Identifying what makes you strong, right? What strengths do you have that will make you a successful business at launch? What weaknesses do you see, right? That would not make you as successful as you want, because you definitely have to determine what weaknesses you have to strengthen and grow as a business, right? And what opportunities can I capitalize on? What opportunities do I see? Opportunities to grow, to add new technology, or add a new accounting system, right? Add a new to bolster my supply chain system, right? So I can deliver to my clients even faster, right? So definitely take the SWOT analysis seriously, and what in the marketplace will be a threat to the success of my business, right? Strengths and weaknesses are internal to your business, right? Those things that are internal that you can identify as strengths and weaknesses. Opportunities and threats are external. Those forces or that phenomenon that actually threatens your business and creates opportunities from outside the business, all right? And definitely develop your marketing budget. What percentage of your budget will be digital marketing? What percentage of your budget, if you're doing digital marketing, what percentage will be allocated to videos? What percentage will be allocated to Instagram? Or if I'm going out there to networking, if I'm buying print material, my website, determine how you're developing, how you're identifying those cost factors, right? That would help determine what you need in order to market successfully for your business. Here is the quadrant for your SWOT analysis. You would develop something like this in your business plan and just identify your strengths, your weaknesses, and opportunities and threats. And again, strengths and weaknesses are internal to the business. Opportunities, this is supposed to be threats. Opportunities and threats, not opportunities and strengths, but opportunities and threats are external to your business, right? Working a little too fast, I didn't recognize that. So strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? SWOT analysis is essential. A SWOT analysis should really be done on the business. It should be done on your products and services. It should be done on you as the entrepreneur, because you have strengths and weaknesses, and there are certain things that may threaten you as an entrepreneur, your success, right? So these things must be captured, all right? So we're talking about digital marketing, and we're talking about the power of the phone, right? Many of us, we have been walking around, we scroll, we're sitting, in our office, or we're on a bus, or we're on the train or something, and we're looking at Amazon, and we're looking online at Walmart or something like that, and we're using our digital devices, right, to purchase items and to engage in commerce, right? It is important to understand the power of the digital device, because with looking at smartphone usage, we're looking at Facebook. How many people are actually on Facebook that would actually see your business being promoted on Facebook, right? We have in the United States about 275 million Americans who have access to a digital device, 275 million, right? About 2.5 billion in the world, right? So you can imagine the power of this computer in your hand, and people can literally engage in commerce. Go onto your site, scroll through your different pages. You have PayPal or Vimeo, or you have, Cash App or whatever, whatever payment feature you have, and you can engage in purchasing services or products from your phone, right? You look at YouTube, almost, when you talk about global average monthly users, right? About 2 billion YouTube users. Instagram comes in third, Twitter, LinkedIn, right? So you have all of these social media platforms that are helping you, that are assisting you, right, in getting the exposure you need. All you have to do as a business owner is capitalize on them. If you run a restaurant, why should someone just walk into your restaurant, right, and order from the menu? They should be able to do it from this, right? They should be able to do it from across the city. If I'm in Lawrenceville and I'm going over to Marietta, and I'm like, hey, there's this restaurant over in Marietta I enjoy. I'm going to go on their website. Oh wow, I see a Facebook ad. They're offering some specials this week. Great. I'll log on and I'll definitely purchase whatever they're having as a special that week, right? Because I see them advertising on Facebook. So it's great. It's a great way. Sit down with the person who is doing marketing and digital marketing, and it can help you reach that market to really get you the exposure you need. Because, like we say, location, location, location. Well, marketing, exposure, exposure, exposure. The more exposure you get, you can never have enough exposure, right? Right now, we're in COVID. Everything is digital. Everything is over the phone. People are using Zoom now to have meetings and to do networking. I have lots of Zoom meetings with potential clients and partners now, because you don't sit down in a Panera Bread or a Starbucks like you used to pre-COVID, but you're now utilizing these digital platforms on which you are promoting yourself and doing business. All right. Your financial planning and financial projections. Basically, it's typical bank or financial institution will require 3 to 5 year projections for your business plan, including your profit and loss statement, which is your expense, your income statement with your revenues and expenses, your gross profit margins, your cost of goods sold if you're turning raw materials into tangible goods, your balance sheet, your liabilities and your assets are outlined on that, your current assets, current liabilities, your statement of cash flows, which actually lets you know how much cash you have available to you as a business, right? You don't necessarily determine that from your profit and loss statement. Profit and loss statement only shows your revenues, your expenses, your net profits, right? But the cash flow statement basically gives you an indication of how liquid you are as a business, right? How much cash you have in the business. Your break-even analysis, right? Using your fixed assets and you determining how many units of a product or how many quotes you have to issue for revenue to be generated in order to break even and then start making a profit, right? Key ratios I like to identify: profitability, solvency, and liquidity. These are great for businesses. In addition to your break-even analysis, it really helps you identify and to understand how you're growing profitably as a business. Because a business you should always strive to be solvent to the business, always having cash on hand and minimizing expenses, increasing revenues, and like I said, if you're using a net 30, net 45, if you're using terms, keep it to net 30 and net 45. Businesses who go 60 and a net 90, you're basically telling your customer that, hey, I'm giving you 3 months to pay me. I'm giving you 2 months to pay me, right? And the bank that you owe money to, the landlord you owe money to, want their money now. Your suppliers who are going to charge you, send you an invoice for the products the materials that you purchase, you have to pay them, right? So the faster you get money coming into your business, right? If you keep it around net 30, net 45, and you monitor that accounts receivables while monitoring the accounts payables and determining money going out versus money coming in to basically determine how solvent you are as a business, right? So these documents are very important for you to look at. Your EIN number, your employee identification number, can basically be you can inquire with the irs.gov to secure your EIN number, and it's good because it is needed when you opening up a bank. And I always advise business owners, entrepreneurs, never commingle your cash. Your personal account should remain your personal account. Your business account should remain your business account, right? So this way you can track how you're growing your business and how you're growing your personal finances. So never commingle your savings, right? Your EIN number can be accessed. It's free. You can go to the IRS website and apply for your EIN number, right? Because you're going to need it also not only for applying for an account with a bank, but also when you're doing your taxes, your business taxes, you're going to need that EIN number, right? Your Dun and Bradstreet number, your DUNS number, right, which is the Data Universal Numbering System. If you are starting out in your business, you don't have business credit, right? So you're basically starting that business on your own personal credit, right? What is your credit rating? What's your credit history? Are you credit worthy? Are you lender worthy, based on your credit, right? So you're using your personal credit until you can build credit in the business. What is usually recommended, not what I recommend, but what's usually recommended is that you establish business credit with a credit card, with a business credit card. You purchase, you spend on the credit card, you quickly pay off that credit card. And as you continue to do that, you will grow your credit as a business. The DUNS number is important, especially if you're looking to do business with the US government, right? Federal government, state government, local municipality, or county government, right? They're going to ask you for a DUNS number because they want to check your credit files, right? To make sure that you are legit, okay? So those two important numbers, your EIN number and your DUNS number, are very important, right? Let me see, watching the time here, all right? Um, the white paper I created goes more into detail, right? Um, uh, than the presentation. The presentation is just meant to be high level, all right? Now you can go to my website, which is TM Consulting. I forgot, I left off the LLC, right? tmconsultingllc.com. I want to go quickly on the download. Let me see here if it'll let me do it. No, it won't let me do it. All right, don't worry about it. You can go to tmconsultingllc.com, right? Hold on a second. All right, and then start from the current slide. All right, you guys still see the presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so www.tmconsultingllc.com, right? Go to publishing and then look for the link at the top. And then it's a free download. It's a good white paper, and I'm not saying that because I wrote it, but it's a good white paper if you're just starting out and you want to get an idea, a really detailed and concise idea of how I should develop this business plan. You know, what do I need, right? What is important for me to know? What is important for me to understand, right, about that business plan? And it's not only just here, step one, step two, step three, but there are links that direct you to certain articles that I've researched. And also it provides additional information on why it's important for you to market, why it's important for you to establish certain things, right, in your business, your operations, your marketing, your digital marketing, so on and so forth. So it's a very detailed paper. Your entrepreneurial journey begins with business planning, right? Because that's how it is. You can't begin an entrepreneurial journey successfully, right, unless you start with business planning, right? Because if not, it's like licking your fingers, sticking it in the wind, and determining what direction you're going to head in, right? But with a business plan, you write all your ideas, propose all your ideas. You sit down with different consultants, and you get that done, right? So let me go on to the next slide. To plan or not to plan, right? This is a small business trends research done in conjunction or in association with the University of Oregon. What this graph shows you is that the business plan versus no business plan, right? So let's say someone used a business plan to grow their business, right? You see more than 60% of the folks who were queried, right, in this research utilize the business plan to grow their business, right? But slightly over 40% didn't, right? Securing investment capital, right? You see that with the business plan and no business plan, right? About 35% versus like roughly around 18%, right? I used the business plan to secure a loan, right? About 35% did, and about 15% didn't, right, to secure a loan, right? So the plan clearly shows how successful the plan can be for you as a tool, how successfully it will be, not just as a tool, but as a guide to help you. Because once you do the planning up front and in the beginning, you definitely go through that. You sit with your consultants, your CPA, your attorney, your business consultant, your digital marketing person, your web designer, your HR consultant. You know, everyone, you're building a team. You're building a team of individuals who will help you go from vision to launch, right? And then beyond launch, to go from seed to startup to growth to establish, right? And to take you all the way through, right? The stages of your business life cycle, right? So definitely keep that in mind. I hope that you download the white paper and you utilize it as a tool to help you with your business plan. All right. Well, thank you so much. And then now we move into the Q&A.
Right. Wow, Austin, that was a lot of information. So from those in the chat, definitely give Austin a shout out on just, what you thought of today's webinar. There were so many nuggets that were shared and I was taking notes, and just so much content that you poured out into our group. So I truly thank you for sharing all of the nuggets that you did. Now we do want to open it up for Q&A. So just a quick note, I will also send a follow-up email with Austin's contact information, as well as the information to download the white paper. We can get more of that detail on how to create your business plan. So questions from the group. So I have a couple so far that I'll read through. And then if you have any other questions, you all feel free to put them in the chat, or you can use the Q&A function in Zoom, or you can also raise your hand. So different ways that you can communicate if you have questions. So one of the questions that came through was, if you work for a nonprofit out of your home, are there still any tax break on individual taxes?
Yeah, there will be tax breaks, but depending upon your nonprofit and depending on how you're set up as a nonprofit, as a 501x, you definitely would have to sit down with your CPA and to determine what those tax breaks are, right? And what percentages are you eligible for in terms of getting those breaks for your business, all right? So yes, they are. I'm not a CPA, so I only play one on TV. But definitely, I recommend strongly that you sit down with your CPA to discuss that.
Okay, great. And another one, I think this was more of a comment, also mentioned the State Department of Revenue and EIN registration, which I think you've covered, but I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that at all.
Yeah, well, basically, just to reiterate, opening up a bank account, filing your taxes on you and anyone who is employed with your business, you definitely need that EIN number. Now, if you're subcontracting any portion of your business out, that person to whom you are subcontracting will have their own EIN number. So you're not responsible for that individual. Only those who are employed with you, right, that you have that EIN number for.
Okay, great. And so we do have a hand raised. And so I'm going to allow you to talk. And then from here, you can unmute. There you go. You can unmute your line and ask your question. So again, I think I may have gotten stuck. There we go. So if you could unmute your line and you can ask your question for the gentleman who's raised your hand, because we can see you, but we can't hear you.
Is that Mr. Alhaji Suleiman?
Correct.
Okay.
See. Okay. So again, you can unmute. Let's see. You should be able to unmute your line. Okay. Let's see. As you're getting your line unmuted, there's a comment from the chat from Amy. Please also mention the fact that financial accounting needs to be set up first, because it's easy to forget eligible expenses for tax deductions, such as professional fees. Austin, your fees might apply at tax time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's why I say make sure you work along with a CPA, because I identify all those requirements for tax and expenses. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions as we're getting questions come in, any in the chat or any, again, if you want to raise your hand and ask a question.
Until someone raises their hand, I just want to say that the SBA, they've opened up the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program. So if you have employees and if you're still in need of funding for your business, access to capital, definitely contact the SBA. Last year, there were several instances where, because of the amount of businesses that were accessing the websites, they literally crashed. Especially with the with the PPP, because you're going through banks, you're going through your local banks, and the banks weren't really set up at first, and then they had to close several times and then reopen. And with the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which was through the SBA, They were having a little bit more success, but still, but definitely contact, go to the SBA website, sba.gov, and I forgot the path, but look for loans or capital, and then see basically when that PPP window closes. So this way, if you are in need of additional capital for your business, you will be able to apply if you meet the criteria.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Again, you can raise your hand via the chat, or you can write it, or you can raise your hand, or you can write your question in the chat or the Q&A. Any other questions from those before we wrap up here? Just checking. We'll give one last call. Okay, and Amy, if you could, do you have a question, or were you commenting on the PPP? Yes, Amy, get your contracts done ASAP. I'm gonna exclamation point that as well. And thank you so much. And from those, any other questions? So
then,
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say that since there aren't any other questions for now, I would say with your websites, whoever is doing your website, I would say unless you are a expert at web development and web design, let someone manage your website. Let someone manage the design and the search engine optimization. So this way, with your Google AdWords, you are easily searchable on Google. Your business will be easily searchable. Allow a digital marketing expert to work along with you to help you create the videos you need, and to determine which is the best platform for you in promoting your business. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, unless you're a certain, you're managing a certain type of business, Twitter might not be the best platform for you. So you may, and again, it determines. So you may find more success on Facebook than you do on Instagram. You may find more success on Instagram than you do on Facebook. But definitely allow the digital marketers to work with you. Spend the money that you need in order to be successful. I know sometimes we like to think, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. This is too expensive. That's too expensive. You will not realize the return on your investment, right, unless you make the investment to determine what the return is. So if you're serious about growing your business, if you're serious about getting past that 5th year of operation, spend the money to look good. Spend the money to really have the operations and to really promote and let the market know you exist, right? There are so many different associations out there. You have from the chambers, you have the Edge Connection, you have so many different organizations that are having Zoom sessions, Zoom networking sessions. Get involved in the Zoom sessions. Let folks participate in the Zoom sessions. Let folks know. I mean, I have a meeting after I close off here. I mean, sometimes I wish I can clone myself, but yeah, but until we get out of this pandemic, there is no handshaking. There is no looking people in the eye, right? For personal contact, everything is being done either on your phone or on your laptop. So make sure you stay in front of people. You stay in front of those who would do business with you and make recommendations, referrals. There's nothing like a referral. There's nothing like someone who can speak on your behalf, right? So make sure you're doing these things. Until we are fully out of this pandemic, it's a virtual world. So we definitely got to take advantage of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And there's a comment from Amy in the chat. So please check that out, audience. And I am a big fan of Fiverr. Just to get, as you're growing your business, you may not have a large marketing budget, but you do need to have something set aside for marketing. And where you can get some of that low cost options are using platforms like Fiverr. So great tip, Amy. So definitely appreciate you and all the support that you've been providing, Amy, in the chat.
Exactly.
So I'll wrap this up as we're kind of closing here. And again, as I'm talking, you got one last chance for questions. But I'm sure many of you are sitting out there like, what just happened? It was a lot of information, and you're probably like in a deer stuck in headlights. And I'll share with you, that's okay. Oh, I don't think Amy, your comment, oh, it was just to the panelists. I'm going to put it in the chat for everybody to see, Amy, if you're okay with that. So that way everybody could see just the tips that you gave, because it was great, great content.
Yeah.
So, let me just send that so you all can see it. And I don't know if that went through. Hopefully that went through. Okay, let me just see. Oh, good. I'm trying to check the chat here. But as I scroll up and check, okay, good. And again, we'll just make sure that was gone to everybody. It's a lot of information, and you're probably sitting there, deer stuck in headlight. What just happened? I'm drinking from a fire hose all of a sudden. And I'll share this. Number one, we've got support. So you leverage Austin's downloadable. That, again, I'll include his website in the follow-up email. In addition to that, that's what we are here for at The Edge. So we have business advisors who can support you with some of these, once you have your business plan, draft, or outline, to work with you and answering some of your questions, to help you think, different things that you may not have thought through when doing your business plan. So you can email info@theedgeconnection.com if you are interested in setting up a consultation or a business advising session. And these are at no cost to you. So info@theedgeconnection.com will have you fill out a form, and then you can get set up with a business advisor to help you with this process. And again, those are first come, first serve when it comes to meeting with our business advisors. So you definitely want to get on the calendar soon. Also, you've got people like Austin. This is what they do 24 hours a day. I mean, this is their business. So his contact information will be there as well if you want to reach out to him specifically for that business advising support. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in to The Edge, our first kickoff webinar in 2020. We thought it was so important to start with business planning, because most of the times, as you saw in the charts, we start our businesses, we're going. And then someone says, well, where's your business plan? I want to talk funding. And you're like, wait, what? What just happened? Yeah. And so we wanted to get you on the right foot. Even if you've had your business for years, that is okay. You still need a business plan to really get to the level of growth and scalability that you desire. So use the information in the white paper, reach out to us, reach out to Austin, reach out to somebody to get the work done, because we want to see you grow in economic mobility and not just survive having a business where it's a burden. We want you to thrive having a business where it's a blessing. So Michelle Glover with The Edge, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you all have and then I'm hearing some good feedback, so yay from you all. So thank you guys for tuning in, and you guys have a great rest of your day. And Austin, this is just so much information. We may have to have you back for an encore because of so much that you've shared. So
all right, thank you.
We definitely appreciate that.
My pleasure, thank you.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you all have a wonderful evening.